all the Juggalos in recovery.
Welcome to the Sunday Miracles meeting. This is a special dedication meeting where we talk about people we have lost, emotional and mental health, and how it all impacts addiction. Grieving is a hard thing to deal with. There are a lot of emotions that flood our brains and body. We will talk about our coping skills, warning signs, and the community that can help you get through it. Grieving and emotional health, mental health, and addiction are the topics for the meeting. First, we will talk about grief, how grief affects you and how you can deal with it. Then we will talk about how you can find mental health help, how to work on it yourself. And lastly, we will talk about addiction and how all of these things impact addiction. As a disclaimer, none of us in here are mental health professionals. What you hear in this room is purely human to human advice. If you need professional help, we urge you to get it. We love our community and dread having to lose another one of us. Also, if you want to donate to Juggalos in Recovery, the PayPal donation link is in the chat. All proceeds go to Juggalos in Recovery to help those who need it in our community. With that, it has also been brought to my attention some people would like to donate to mental health research centers. You're more than welcome to do that in the name of Laney. Make a post on your page, whatever, or you can even post it on the Juggalos in Recovery page if you'd like. This meeting will happen on the first Sunday of every month. This meeting is called the Miracles Meeting. It has been created so that we have a healthy outlet for our emotions and thoughts. Please be respectful to everyone in this room. We have a lot of people here. Please remember that even though this is a 2-hour meeting, we're going to cover 3 different topics. So try to keep your talking points to a minimum. Be kind to everybody else. Feel free to double dip if you want to. Doesn't matter to me as long as we're all respectful to everybody. Basically, what I'm saying, don't rant for an hour and a half. I mean, it's just be respectful. Um, Please feel free to talk about the ones that you have lost to help prevent the community from losing another member. Please raise your virtual hand if you would like to share. Whether you're on a computer or your phone, it's in different places. It's usually where the reactions buttons are at. I will keep track of the order of the hands raised. Remember, everyone has a different life than you. So just take what helps you and leave the rest. To start this meeting, we will have a moment of silence as the candle burns for our fallen struggling community members. Chris, that's your cue. Thank you all for the moment of silence. To start, I would like to talk about grieving and emotional health. To me, these go hand in hand. Grieving is always hard, no matter how close the person was to you. Sometimes you don't even really know the person, but it hits home for you. Um, and there's a lot of ways to deal with grieving, a lot of ways to process it. But to me, it goes hand in hand with emotional and mental health because it has such an impact on our mind, body, and soul. It can hit you in places that you never expected. So we can go around the room, talk about our experiences, what how you got through it, how you're going through it, and in a short amount of time, we'll merge that with the next topic. Would anybody like to talk first? Any hands to raise? Who's that? Go ahead, Talks.
Can you guys hear me? All right, cool. Um, so I've had a lot of loss in my life in general. The first and biggest for me was my grandmother when I was 9. Um, what I did to get through it was I looked to my friends, and I feel like that's what we need to do right now. So I know that was pretty short, but that's my main thing I've got to say for right now. I want to try to give other people time.
That's awesome, Talks. Thank you. Sometimes the shortest messages are the best.
Thank
Crunk, it is your turn.
Hi, thanks. I recently lost my mom and my mother-in-law, who was kind of like my mom, and it was all during the whole pandemic bullshit. And I just kept going. I had a family, I have a family to care for, and I think that really was the inspiration. I have a daughter, I have a husband, and I gather. And I kind of felt like a juggernaut for a while, and now that I'm slowing down, the emotions are bubbling out. And every day I just pray and stay involved. And this is the first meeting I've ever been to of this type at all. And the fact that this is possible, it's very hopeful. So thank you.
Thank you, Crunk. I'm glad you could show up. I'm glad we can be part of your support system while you're going through that. I lost my mother quite a few years ago, and I know how hard that can be.
Thank you.
D,
Yo, what's up? Welcome, everybody. And I am an addict and I work in a recovery community. So I've lost a lot of people from overdoses and people who just weren't willing to try a different way of life. And some of these people are some of the people that showed me love when I didn't even know how to love myself yet. And I've had thoughts in my recovery of drinking again when something major like that happens or drugging again, but I never pick up because the best way for me to remember those that I've lost and chose to go back out, the best way to remember them is to help as many people out of that dark spot they're in, to find a different way of life. And that's what I've done to deal with loss of close ones. Is the best way for me to remember them is to keep spreading the positivity.
it's very true. I've dealt with uh, quite a bit of loss in my life. Um, One of the stories I like telling because to me it's very unique is when I lost my mother. Um, Lost my mother over 10 years ago. For me, as this is my story, I was an active alcoholic still. My mother never got to see me sober. Um, but it was a blessing in disguise that she passed away because her death was the beginning of my downward spiral to my rock bottom. And I swear I believe this with all of my heart and soul that if my mother didn't pass away, I probably would still be out drinking because nothing hits someone as hard as losing a person so close to you. Um, so luckily, I got over 9 years clean and sober, and it's all because of my mother. That was the last thing that she did for me. Um, I recently lost my grandfather at the beginning of this year. and that was really hard. And that was a very hard thing for me to deal with because he died before I could get home from deployment to see him. So I had to fly home um, to help be there for my family to help get me and them through it. Um, and I stayed with my grandmother in their house, and I remember waking up every morning expecting him to walk out of the bedroom. It's very, very hard to lose someone. Um, you start feeling angry, and you start feeling um, you feel angry sometimes, or you feel depressed and sad. There's so many emotions. One thing that I used to do is I used to bottle all that up. I used to just keep it all in. I wouldn't tell anybody about it. I wouldn't lean on anybody because why would I put all of my pain onto someone else? And then I realized years and years later that a lot of the times it's the only way we can truly heal is by talking and being around the community that we have and being a part of uh, something that's bigger than yourself. It helps you get out of your head. It helps you. Um, it actually, for me, it actually helps me believe in myself a little bit better because being around other people shows me how strong I actually am. Because if I'm able to get through all of these things that I've done, all these things, all these people that I've lost, and I'm still alive and I'm still find a way to be happy, and I'm a fucking strong individual. I don't care who you are. One of the things I love hearing around these meetings is you've already been through your worst days. So there's nothing you can't accomplish from this day forward. No matter what you've gone through, every one of us in here has had some type of hard, depressing, you felt beat down, you felt lost. You've made it through it. You're strong. You survived. You're a survivor. All that matters now is that you keep pushing forward, you keep making the best out of your life. Go ahead, Chris.
So, hey, Chris. My name's Chris, addict, alcoholic, and clean 10 plus years at this point. Um, One of the first people I ever remember losing, other than adult figures in my life, was my go to dealer. Shortly after I had started working the path to get clean and sober, he ended up overdosing on the same drugs that he had tried to sell me just a couple of weeks prior. And that one hit me and shook me pretty hard. I feel like most of us have probably had a similar scenario where somebody we know has died from excess, but when it was somebody that was supposed to know more than you and be safer than you, it hits you a little different. So it makes you really think back on why it wasn't you. That's a part of the grieving process. And it took me a long time to be okay with that loss.
Thank you, Chris. Does anybody else have anything they would like to share? Get off their chest, express. This is a safe place. If you do not want people on YouTube or whatever to see it, go ahead, Jason. Just let us know and when you talk, and I will make sure to cut that part out of the video. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you for letting me speak. I recently lost my dad 3 weeks ago, this weekend. And it's interesting because my dad and I were not close. We had a rather estranged relationship. And yet I find myself living with this grief and living with a lot of regret that we didn't not patch things up, but there was just a lot of unsaid emotions at the end, and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to him. My siblings and I, we convened in Arizona, where my dad and my mom lived, and he passed away a half hour before we got there. So our timing was just off, you know. I'm also living with the grief of I lost a romantic partner who was really, really important to me. A couple years ago, she died of cancer, and that is still haunting me to this day. I haven't had a really substantial relationship ever since her, and I'm trying to get by. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to handle this grief without relying on old crutches, whether it's drugs or alcohol, and or self-hatred, which is and regret. But I would like to say though that a lot of juggalos have helped me out, because there's been a lot of even there's just the camaraderie we share and the love we share has saved my life. So I really just wanted to express that. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Jay. I really appreciate you sharing. That that actually brings up a very powerful thing for me. And if you want to share, please raise your virtual hand, say something in the chat. We're monitoring everything. Um, the Juggalo community is a very unique community, and that's why this group is based off of who we are as Juggalos in the community. We love without caring who you are, what you do. As long as you're a good person, a decent person, we're there for you. And that's how we're going to get through this loss of Lainey, and how we're going to get through our personal losses and the tribulations that life throws at us. There are so many things that life can throw at you. My wife can talk about a lot of it because life has thrown her a lot of things recently, and me. Um, and yet we're alive and we've made it through. And we might not be the happiest we've ever been as individuals, but we do know that it's going to get better, because life isn't just one straight line. There is no way it's always one straight line. As we all know, it's a roller coaster. You'll have your ups and your downs, and some hills are bigger than others, and some valleys are a lot deeper than others. Jason did touch on something. Whether you're an addict or not, I don't think it really matters when you're dealing with these strong emotions that grief brings. Bringing alcohol or drugs or any type of mind altering substances into it, this is my personal opinion, usually blow those emotions up. They usually make them 10 times worse, no matter whether you meant to or not. You might do it to feel numb. You might do it because the pain is too much. You might do it just so you can attempt to not think about it. But I can tell you from my personal experience, and probably many people in this room can as well, there is nothing that is going to numb that pain. All it's going to do is bury it, and then you're going to have to deal with it later. And the more you bury it or the more you bottle it up, the worse it's going to get. I can tell you, I did not deal with my mother's death for about 2.5 years, and then all of a sudden I just bottled up and I just let it all out. I went through 15 different emotions in a matter of hours because I couldn't hold it anymore. I was broken. I was down at my lowest point, and I refused to let go that I had lost my mother, one of my best friends, the person who I could rely on at any moment of any day. So no matter what you're dealing with, just keep in mind that mind altering substances of any kind can make your emotions worse. So if you don't think you're mentally or emotionally stable enough to handle that, find someone to talk to. D first and then talks. Go ahead, D.
And yeah, what Jason was talking about, like not beating yourself up with that regret, right? Part of the grieving process is like trying to find healthy ways of coping, right? I get into cycles of depression, especially every time I've lost somebody, where I just want to sit in that depression and feel that emotion until it's unbearable. But to find a healthy alternative, whether it's a community to lean in, somebody to vent to, writing, music, whatever your passion may be, to have a healthier coping mechanism. Because like you said, for years I just like bottled up everything, all types of different losses and life problems and everything, and numbed it with substances and people and all types of things in an unhealthy manner, to where when I finally um, entered a life of sobriety, I had these years and years of losses and people built up that I had to learn to cope with, that I never knew how to before. And it definitely makes it a lot harder in a grief process if we're numbing everything we're doing. Um, so just learning healthier stuff. And like I've had professional help and medication, all types of stuff throughout the years. But the biggest help was finding that group of people that sincerely cared about me and wanted to see me do good. Cause I'm sure anybody who's not here with us anymore, like they're at peace right now, but they don't want me sitting down here torturing myself over something that I have no control of. Like they would want me happy and still living a good life.
Thank you, Bryant. Talks, you are good to go.
Okay. So I have never been in any kind of meeting or anything of that nature, but I definitely I like to think that I'm not an addict now, but let's be real, it happens. But I used to be heavily addicted to painkillers. So when my cousin died, when I was let's see, I think I was 16 or so. It was a week before her 23rd birthday. She fell into a diabetic coma in her sleep, and her 5-year-old daughter fell. So um, that kind of sent me into a spiral when I was at that age. Uh, but over the years, I met Chris, and a lot of shit has changed for me, and it's made me not want to do the hard drugs that I used to do every single day. Um, it's been a huge change for me. And the fact that he has now joined you guys is kind of seemed like the next step, honestly. I haven't told him that before. There it is. But I just uh, I greatly appreciate you guys and everything you do, even though I haven't really popped up. I've only been into one of you guys' meetings, but I didn't say anything. So, you know, yeah. I just want to say thank you guys for doing all of this. Seriously.
Thank you, Talks, for showing up. It means a lot to all of us, not just Juggalos in Recovery, but everyone in this room and everyone who's going to watch it. It means a lot to have this much of the community show up at one time.
And I will say another thing, even if I don't know you, no matter who you are out there, if I don't know you, I don't care. If you're having some kind of issues, you need somebody to talk to, you can message me. I am l.s.wolf on Facebook. Absolutely send me a message. Tell me you're going through some shit. You just need somebody to talk to. Talk to me. I'm here.
Thank you, Tox. Mr. Big Bricks, it is your turn, sir.
Okay. Um, I like to start off by saying thank you for having me here, and I think this is a really great thing that you're doing, that you started, and so basically in 2017, my dad passed away in my arms. He was my best friend growing up. Like he taught me everything. He taught me, you know, how to be a man, and just in general, and how to be a good person. And always went to church and stuff like that with him, and good morals. He was around the wall, around the whole sphere. You know, a great man. And I wanted to be like him so much because he always made Christmas like the best time of our lives as kids. You know, but when he died in 2017, um, a year before that, 2 years before that, before he died, I was in a car wreck in Florida in Apopka. Me and my homie Big Chris coming from not uh, some sort of wedding after party sort of thing, and we were sober, but the guy behind us was drunk. Hit us from behind. Worst car wreck I was ever in. Go to the hospital, and what do you know? They gave me a bunch of pills, and that's where it started. It was all bad. Just I liked the feeling too much. It was just I don't know what it was. It was just like pills were just a thing for me. Like I never messed with nothing else but pills. But like up until literally about last month. Oh shoot! I'm sorry, I forgot. Do I have time to go back for just 2 seconds?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, all right. Also in 2017, I was supposed to get married, and my fiance had an enlarged heart, and she also died in my arms. And I didn't want to believe she was dead at all. Like I was like so in denial that she was gone that even though I was there and saw her just take her last breath, my brother had to come. My brother's Speedy, my older brother, he's a good ninja. He does security and stuff. He came and got me. He said, "Bro, we got to get out of here." They said they're gonna call like the security up here and cops to come and get you out of the room if you don't leave. So that was still in 2017, and like I said, she helped me get off the pills, and I ran back right to it after she was gone because she helped me through a lot with my dad. I had a small relapse when my dad had passed. I feel like I wasn't there enough for him, but towards the end of these years, but at least I was there when he did pass. So same with my fiance, the same year. It was really the hardest year of my life. It was supposed to be the greatest year of my life because it's 2017. It's our lucky number, baby. You know. But anyway, uh, I'm was out in Phoenix. I used to live in Phoenix, but I live in Panama City Beach now. And I'm technically today 7 days clean off of heavy fentanyl pills. 7 days clean, and it's it was hell first like 3 or 4 days. I couldn't hardly sleep. I couldn't keep anything held down. But I'm doing it, man. This Juggalos recovery like is a great thing. I've been following y'all ever since my sister told me about y'all. She actually runs Juggalo memes. She's one of the administrators still. Misconduct. I don't know if y'all ever heard of her, but she's the one that told me about y'all because she joined your page too, and I've been following y'all ever since for about a year. But like I said, from having that addiction, half my heart is in congestive failure, and my liver isn't doing too well either. But I'm going to continue to, pray and just thank God that I'm still alive every day with air in my lungs, and for Juggalo recovery too, and everyone out there and in here, and to LS Wolf, I feel that's cool, man. I appreciate. I think I actually saw you online before once. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. Appreciate it.
Thank you for showing up, man.
Not a problem, brother. I love you, everybody in here, man. Thank you very much, bro.
We love you too.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead,
brother.
D.
I just want to congratulate Nathan on his 1 week. You don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to be another number. Fentanyl is the thing I've lost most of people to. And you said you're getting off of it in a week sober on your own. That is a tough cookie, man. Most people have to do 30-day detoxes or be put in a jail cell or a psych ward. So just want to commend you on your 1 week of sobriety and keep coming back. We do a few Zoom meetings a week, and there's a bunch of new people that joined since you started the meeting. So if you want to rerun the topic, Frank.
I will do that after I lower your hand. D. So right now we are talking about grieving, what it does to you, what you feel, how you go through it. You can talk about the people you've lost if you choose to. Also, in line with this part of the meeting, we are also talking about emotional health. Because when you're dealing with grief and the loss of someone, your emotional and mental health have a huge impact on how you deal with on a day-to-day basis. So if any of the people who have come in would like to talk about that, if not, I will keep babbling for a little bit or we can move on to the next topic. Go ahead, Brooks.
Thanks, brother. Real quick, I was gonna say, when you lose somebody, it's not easy, no matter who they were to you, because they were obviously close. And it's like, for me, what it feels like is like all your demons just want to simultaneously rage, and you go through mixed emotions very, very quickly, sad, mad, confused, you know, just, hurt, just really hurt, but that's what I wanted to add to of how, how people would feel, like how I would describe it.
Thanks, Brooks.
No problem, brother.
Yeah, like I said, the emotional roller coaster. I remember there was a point where I got hysterical because of all the emotions I was going through after I lost someone. And it was like a lot of us in here have seen Batman and the Joker and how hysterical the Joker gets. And he's just like mad and crazed and stuff like that. I literally felt like a crazed Joker just laughing hysterically for no reason, even though I was dealing with the most shittiest thing I've ever dealt with in my life. And that's how fucked up your emotions get when you lose someone close to you. And like Lainey, I personally did not know her. I probably ran into her at the gathering, whatever. Like, I've met so many people, but I didn't personally know her. But it still hits home for me. She was part of our community. She was, she was someone who actually went and got professional help. And there's so many of us who need professional help who are afraid to go do that. And with that, I'm going to use that as a segue to go into the second part of this, which is mental health and how you can go out and get professional help and how you can learn to do stuff on your own if you're capable of doing it. For me, one of my biggest struggles of dealing with mental health is I apparently had PTSD for quite a while. I always joked about it, but when 2020 hit and everything shut down, my mental and emotional health took a huge spiral. Chris, you might want to put out that flame. It looks like you're about to set the house on fire. Um, but I, my mental and emotional health took a real big turn in 2020, and it got to the point to where I had my loaded 45 sitting in front of me. And then I called my best friend. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we talked for a couple hours. I unloaded it, I put it away, I locked it up. And then the very next day, I called the crisis hotline and got some professional help. They had me on medication within the week because that's what I needed. And I still take that medication to this day. And even if I miss a couple days of it, of that medication, I can feel my brain going back to the unstableness of what it was before. So for me and the way I was raised, getting professional help was always made to look like a joke. That's what my family used it as. It was more of a, well, you're fucking crazy. You need to go get professional help type shit. And it's not the right way to do it because I am just a human being. I don't know everything about depression. I don't know everything about anxiety. I don't know everything about um, what people do to grieve. I don't know a lot of things. I'm just a human being and I can only share my experience with you. I am not trained in any way. Sometimes you only need a little bit of a push, but you have to be willing to understand and accept the fact that you need help and that if you go and get help, you are not weak because of it. You are actually stronger because it takes a strong person to reach out and ask for help when they need it. Bricks, go ahead. Then you, D.
Thank you, brother. You know, I'm all for professional help, but when you are put into professional help, when you don't want professional help, you're gonna run right back to whatever it is that you were doing before. I know from experience because that's exactly what I did. I was kind of coaxed and kind of pushed into going to um, an addiction like mental institution, like an addiction hospital and stuff like that. Like I was pushed to go there. I mean, I was mad for like maybe 3 days, and then I was like, okay, let me just do this program and just do what they had to say, and then they'll probably let me go. But no, like it, anybody that wants help is going to get help. But if they're pushed into getting help, they're going to have regrets and they're going to run right back to whatever it is they were doing. Now, this last time almost killed me. Like I said, from doing opiates for so long, half my heart is failing. I have a daughter I have to raise. She needs me. She needs a dad, you know? And I don't know what I would do if she just got the news that, oh well, dad died. Sorry, like it's one of those things where you have to want help to receive help, and my mom is my biggest supporter. Like she is a little old lady. She's 80 years old, but she can kick ass with the best of them, brother. And tell you
These
what, she used to
bricks.
ride horses and whatnot, and grab bulls by horns and all kinds of stuff when she was little. But now, seriously, you just if anybody needs to talk or whatever the case is, and this is a really good thing for Juggalos for recovery.
Thanks,
Just
bricks.
this community is a great thing because we are a family, and I feel that God has brought this family together, and we do, everyone's doing great things for somebody else that needs a little bit of help sometimes. Thank you.
Also, before you talk, D, I would like to say, just because we're talking about mental health right this second, if you have anything else you would like to share, you're more than welcome to share anything that's on your mind. The topic is just to help guide the brain of whoever it hits. It doesn't have to be specifically mental health or emotional health or grieving or addiction. If you have something to say, this is a safe space to talk about it. D, go ahead.
Hey, what's up? So I think all the topics so far go hand in hand. And um, for me, I've suffered with mental health most of my life. And like Big Bricks was saying, like I never wanted help. All the Forrest Baker acts, all the other stuff. I didn't want to learn a healthy way to cope. I used drugs and alcohol as a way to cope, to the point of losing even who I was. You know what I mean? And I suffer with bipolar 2 and PTSD. And when I decided to, it got to the point where I literally, it wasn't just no longer like writing or thinking about killing myself. Like I tried to OD and kill myself and even failed at doing that. Like I went into a 2-week blackout coma, and I have 2 kids and a woman that's been by my side 15 years. All those reasons in the world didn't, you know, make me want to live, um, until I got tired of feeling all those overwhelming emotions. And when I decided to enter sobriety in 2018, I did finally honestly seek professional help, because the truth is, like he was saying, like if you get forced into professional help, you're not going to be honest. You're not going to get the help you need. Like, but when I was ready to be honest with them and tell them what was going on with me personally, like I got put on a few meds that definitely helped my first year of recovery to maintain my sobriety, because without them, what would I would do? I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything healthy or any healthy outlets. I didn't have a community or family around me. I was just the loner alcoholic addict type. And those medications, while I was learning to work in a different light, um, because there's 12 steps for normal people, there's 12 steps for addicts, there's 12 steps for everybody, but it's all basically the same no matter what it is, whether you're a person that deals with people like us or you're a person like me who's afflicted by multiple things. It's really about the emotional growth, and that's what happened when I got into sobriety, was an emotional growth and learning to handle things that used to baffle me, make me melt down, spaz out, lose my fucking mind, and go off the deep end, which could have been the tiniest thing. um, Now, no matter what's thrown at me through my community and my network of people and through a program of recovery, I've learned how to deal with a lot of things that I never knew I could deal with. Um, but I don't think I would have made it without having some sort of professional help first, because my stuff was severe, and definitely the lifestyle I live exacerbated those mental health problems 100-fold. I was so much of a short fuse in a roller coaster. When I first got sober, I couldn't even tell you. 1 second was up, 1 second was down, and I was just all over the place all the time. So like without the professional help, I don't know if I would have learned how to grieve in trying times or learn healthy outlets to deal with situations and emotions.
Thanks, Steve. That actually reminds me, it's been so long. When I first got sober, I was actually on antidepressants for the first 6 months because I couldn't handle life. I had a lot of emotions come through, and again, in the very beginning, I wanted to kill myself. But Crunk, it is your turn.
Oh, thanks. Decades ago, I lived in a trap and we had all given up. My friends overdosed multiple times and some of them are dead. And they called themselves scum fucks or whatever they called themselves. And that was just how they were going out. And somehow, I don't even know how I got out of that. I couldn't even tell you. It's one of these things where every day I wake up and feel lucky, and it's that's the gift right there. But healthy alternatives fell into my lap when I started gathering because I wanted to be a better camper. It was that simple. And I learned bushcraft, and I got primitive. And every day I feel more primitive because, in a good way, because of skills, fire, water, that kind of stuff. And it was interesting that I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the person speaking before me, but he mentioned healthy alternatives, and that leapt to mind. So being able to feel lucky was something I never thought I'd get back, and I don't even know how the hell it happened, but it did. And the fact that there are people willing to meet and grieve together. When I was at Hog Rock, that was where the change happened. It actually happened to me while I was at Hog Rock at a gathering, and my whole life changed. Where, I mean, there were people trying to run you over with the Jeep, just the same as there were people who were giving people handouts. And I chose a team. And I hope to cultivate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Crunk. Mr. Nathan, it's good to see you. Your turn to talk, sir.
Yeah, this is my first meeting I've been able to make it to with you guys. I love the fact that this group is here for the Juggalo family, and it is the main reason why I kind of came back into the Juggalo world this last couple of years and made it to the gathering last year. Just knowing that I wasn't going to be the only one, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one that was trying to do this shit on on a daily basis. I'm approaching 5 years sober and clean, and if anybody told me that I would be almost 5 years, I wouldn't have believed them. So things really do happen when you work on it and you get that sobriety and you finally get some under your belt. Really good things start to happen. At least they did in my life. And when I was actively using, I would go to the doctor and I would tell them, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Like, they give me more medicine and I'd be on more antidepressants and Klonopin and whatever else. And when I got sober is when I started to wean off of that stuff. And, I'm very fortunate that I don't really deal with the mental illness side of it. What I thought I did. All of what I was going through was caused by my addiction, and so that was pretty awesome to figure out. I mean, now that I'm sober, though, there is a lot of that mental side, the mental stability, though. Like, I might not have those, technically mentally ill and need prescription medication and stuff, but I still have to work on myself. I still have to deal with the emotions that come up and the brutal reality of being sober, because it is, that is the struggle. Once you're sober, is trying to stay emotionally sober. So that's what I struggle with daily. I have a couple kids myself, and a job. I have to be there for these guys, and I watched a lot of people go, in life over addiction and even mental illness. And I had a close friend commit suicide not that long ago. He would always joke around online about, not wanting to be here anymore. And I just always thought it was a joke. I didn't really, think about it. And then one day he's just gone. So it's important to talk. It's important to reach out to people. And I'll throw my number in the chat. If anybody needs anything, they can always text me or hit me up on Facebook. I'll put that out there for you guys. So, but I'm really glad to see a lot of faces on here. It's good. And, there's people to talk to. You're not alone. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nathan. Chris, you're up.
All right. So one of the first things that I did on my journey to get to here was take a lot of time for self-reflection. And that takes a lot of mental stability I didn't know that I had, was to spend time by myself, thinking only of myself, to try to find what were my flaws, what was my drive, what was causing me to make the choices, what was the motivation that I had to do the things that ended up fucking me in the end. And that's a huge part of mental health that I don't feel like everybody tackles, is really thinking on what is going on in your own internal landscape. What is it that is driving you to do the things that you do? It took me a solid couple of weeks spending completely isolated to find out why I was trying to change everything around me or escape what was going on, to then come to the realization that I was just fucking bored. And that was the only real motivation that I had, was finding a way to escape the boredom, to change my own reality, just to make it slightly more interesting, just so I could survive. And with that, I'm going to pass that on to Tux.
All you talks.
All right. So I made a couple of notes, so this might seem jumbled, but anyway. So I mentioned earlier when I first spoke that my grandmother died when I was 9. At the time, I didn't actually have friends. Like, I wasn't. Other kids didn't get me. I was a fucking weirdo. Always a weirdo. So when my grandmother died, she was my best friend. And eventually at 9 years old, I told my mom I wanted to kill myself. I begged her to get me some kind of mental help, like anything. Like, I need somebody to talk to that's not you, Mom. My parents aren't very understanding people to begin with. So they finally, when I was like 12, found out that I had been self-harming and finally got help. And when my doctor told them that I needed medication and that I needed therapy, my parents called her a quack and stopped letting me see. So that happened. So that led to me not actually getting mental help until I was probably, I think I was 22, maybe. I'm 32 now. So it's only been around 10 years since I finally got help. And then I was diagnosed schizophrenic. Turned out I had childhood schizophrenia all that time, and my parents didn't do shit about it. So now I saw a doctor that, well, those years ago, I saw a doctor that was a complete idiot. Um, he had no idea what he was talking about. He actually pulled out a book in front of me that said The A to Z Guide to Medications. So, yeah, the guy was, he was not very smart. But he ended up putting me on a couple of different medications. First, it was antidepressants, and antidepressants made me violent. So that didn't work. Uh, so then they switched me over and they put me on antipsychotics, and that worked. Now I can have conversations with people. It's crazy. I didn't, somebody mentioned not wanting help. I didn't want help. I thought and referred to, Chris can tell you guys this, I referred to mental health medications as poison. I straight up was like, no, I will not take that poison. I don't want that poison, because that's what my family basically had ingrained into. And finally, I got the correct medication and it quieted the voices down. You know, I finally realized that I needed that, you know. And now every time I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to take my meds. Everybody knows it's pretty bad. It's it starts with me not being able to shut up, like, and then yeah, it just gets worse and worse. But it was so heavily stigmatized in my whole family, mental health just in general, so heavily stigmatized in my entire family that nobody would do anything, nobody would try to get any help. And then that led to now my aunt, who is in her like late 50s or something like that, finally got help and was told that she has uh the I'm having a brain fart. It's the other type of schizophrenia, basically. It's like schizophrenia mixed with bipolar disorder. So, oh, schizoaffective disorder. That's what it is. So they told her she had that, and then like a couple of years after they told her she had that, they told me I had that. So they just kind of have gone back and forth. But anyway, so the most important thing that I did was actually go out and get help. And then even though I was on the medications, that wasn't everything that I needed. So this is the main point that I want to make. Even if you're going with medications and stuff, you still need to talk to someone. You need to. You have to talk to someone. And because once you finally do, like, you know, you're telling your psychiatrist your medication, um, just, you know, this is kind of what's going on. But with a therapist, you can actually get into it. And that might make you realize that, you know, your original issues wasn't what it was. But I definitely do think that my mental illness was a huge cause of my addiction. I was trying to escape it. I had to get away from those voices in my head, and I didn't know how else to do it. So I just used a ridiculous amount of drugs. So it's just not the way to go. It's not the way to live. And I can't be angry anymore. I just can't. That's all I gotta say on that.
Thanks, Tots. I appreciate that. Bricks, it's your turn, sir.
Thank you. Um, I was gonna say that I totally agree with what Wolf was saying. Like, it's more than just medication, because medication. I used to be on antidepressants, and it didn't feel like it was changing anything within me at all. Like, I didn't feel any different really. I just kind of was like, whatever. But anyway, when I had to talk to somebody, I would talk to this therapist, and he would rush me out of his office just as soon as I'd try to get in there to try to talk to him. It did not work. But community, like, when with Juggalos, like, we're family. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta. It's a great thing that we come together and unite like this, and be able to talk about mental illness and whatnot, because I've had PTSD ever since I lost my fiance too. Like, my dad hit me real hard, and then I kept it together, because I was gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be all right. I'm still gonna get married. Everything's gonna be great. And then you know, uh, 8 months down the road, she ends up dying, and it hit me the worst. It really did. It hit me the worst, and I feel like I lost mine. I don't know if you heard the song. It's fairly new, I think. It's only been out about a year. What really explains a mental illness. How what's his name? Uh, Ronnie something from Falling in Reverse. You know who that guy is?
I don't
Uh,
know.
no, okay. Well, he did a song called he's in a band called Falling in Reverse, and he has mental illness too. He talks about it in one of his songs that he put out not too long ago. I recommend everybody at least checking that out at least once. If you don't like it, you won't like it. But the dude is pretty fire, and he like works with Corey Taylor too as well. And the song is called "Popular Monster." And when I heard that, it was like, he talks about seeing a therapist and how all his demons are just coming out at once and trying to pull him in every direction. And see, when you feel like you're being pulled in every direction, you can no longer, you know, feel like you can pull yourself out from drowning. Sometimes you need a hand. You know what I'm saying? All right, our wolf. Yep, one of my favorite tracks too, brother. Anyway, it's one of those things where you feel like you're drowning. You're gonna need a hand up, not just a bunch of medication. Sometimes medication does work for people, but a lot of times you just need some an ear to lend or a hug from a homie or whatever the case may be. Or you know, thank you.
Thanks, Bricks. D, I saw your hand up and then it went away. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I lost connection. That's why I went away.
Okay.
So I heard a couple important things, or a few now, between Chris, Nathan, and then Big Bricks. Right. I was, no matter how much I was struggling in my mental health, I was always the laughing, joking one and struggling the worst, right? I put on this outward appearance that everything was okay, but would make those kind of jokes about killing myself where nobody thought I was serious, but that's like I was really feeling that way. And besides the medications, like what I was doing my whole first year of recovery was self-searching, like Chris was talking about, like looking like deeply at myself and trying to learn to heal and grow that first year. That was my whole first year was dedicated to self-growth and figuring out what was going on with me and where I was going and what I was doing and all the things that my life had added up to that point. And through that process of learning healthy coping mechanisms and finding those people like Big Bricks was saying, just somebody who supports you and cares about you without a motive behind it. Somebody that, just when you see him, you hug each other. Hey, how you been, bro? Like meant the most to me, because without like that combination of things, like, I don't know, everything mixed together is what brought me to where I am today. It was no one certain thing that was a catch-all for how I remained sober or how I learned to deal with life emotionally and mentally. It was a mixture of things. And that's all I wanted to share.
Thanks, D.
Do I need to bring in?
This is completely blowing my mind. Just for the record, usually our meetings are about 4 people, and I'm looking at more than I usually see in a week. So I want to say thank you to everybody showing up. We are not done by any means. It's just emotions. I need to say something. Also, anybody who has a cat, please show my wife because she loves cats. My wife is here. Stacy, pay attention. There's a kitty cat. There's a kitty cat. We got the kitty cats everywhere. I saw a couple dogs too. Feel free to show the dogs. Oh, we got another kitty cat. See, babe? Kitty cats. I, thanks for making my wife smile. That makes me happy. Um, so, sorry. Oh, there's another one. Hey, kitty cats. Okay, sorry. Um, don't mind my brain. It bounces there. And there's another one. Oh my God, they're everywhere. Oh, there's another one. Okay, stop focusing on the cats, Frank. What were we talking about? We were talking about mental, emotional health, grieving. Okay. Um, so one of the things that a lot of people have touched on, we talk about mental, emotional health, how we deal with it, and reaching out for help. But one of the things a lot of people don't realize that can help you a lot when you start going through the healing process, um, is if you just are start being a little bit more self-aware every day. If you are actively aware of how you're reacting, how you're physically being towards situations, like if you feel muscles tense or if you feel sick to your stomach or anything like that, all these are signs of emotions that are coming up. If you take a couple minutes to figure out what that emotion is, um, why you're having that emotion, all of those things will help you start realizing what is being aware of what's causing these emotions will allow you to know if you're dealing with those emotions in a healthy manner. And if you realize that you're not dealing with them in a healthy manner, that's when you figure out what you need to do to change. Um, and when I first started doing this, I was like, how do I know if I'm doing it in a healthy way or not? I didn't, because I've been doing it so wrong for so long, I thought it was right. The point of that is you can't do this alone. You have to have someone or many people to reach out to. When I first got sober, I was literally on the phone with my grandmother because my mother had passed every other day because I lived in Illinois and she lived in Massachusetts, where I'm originally from. I was on the phone to my grandmother every other day. Grandma, why am I feeling this? What's going on? I've never felt this emotion before. Why is this emotion making me feel like I'm going insane? And it's thinking back to that was 9 years ago, longer, a little bit longer than 9 years. And to think of how far I've come since then, and all I did was take it one situation at a time. I didn't even take it one step at a time. I'm not gonna lie. One step was too much for me. I couldn't even put one foot in front of the other. I had to take it, in a matter of speaking, one breath at a time because life was so crazy and unpredictable. I could only do one thing at a time. And if anyone's paying attention to my life, you will see many cats crawling all over her. That is the queen laying on her chest, the yellow tabby. Not the yellow tabby, the yellow cat. That's Tigger. Um, but anyways, sorry, my wife has trained me to notice every cat in the world. Um, but with that, being self-aware of what's going on internally allows you to process those situations, finding a healthy outlet, talking to someone that you trust, talking, even if it's honestly, I've physically have done this before. Sometimes you just have to talk to someone. So I didn't have anybody, so I found someone random and was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And sometimes that's all you need is just to voice it. Like one of the things that I've learned, I love writing. I'm writing a book for Juggalos in Recovery. I do journal. Whenever I get overwhelming anything in my life, I have to write it down. But the best thing about writing to me is when you read what you wrote out loud. Because one, it's on paper, you physically get your emotions out and your thoughts out in a healthy way. But if you go and you take what you wrote, because for me, when I write it, it's out of my brain. I forget it, it's done. It's my way of dropping it. But if you read it, then you're able to process what was going through your head and start breaking that down so you start understanding yourself better. The more you know yourself, the better off you are. I feel like I'm rambling, so someone else take the spotlight before I start naming cats. Who wants to talk?
Aaron had
Tots.
his hand up first.
Oh, Aaron, I didn't see you. Sorry. Tots, you're after Aaron.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
My name is Aaron. I'm a grateful recovering addict and juggalo. Yeah, this meeting is amazing. There's really so many beautiful people in this meeting right now. Like, fucking, it's good to see all of you, brothers, sisters. Like, really made my day. And I got to thank Fago lovers for letting me know this meeting was happening, and I had to take some mental. And I took some mental health time today. You know, I was working on my day off. It's my 7th day in a row. They want me to work tomorrow, and I deliver mail, and they, I just delivered a bunch of packages, and he was trying to give me more, and the manager left to take his shit, and I snuck out the door. Like, probably gonna hear about it tomorrow, but it's a union job. I'll be fine. It's my day off. But I be trying. I try to participate in these meetings while I'm working, at least to listen. You guys can watch me on video, like delivering into mailboxes and stuff. But I get so caught up with that shit that I just end up forgetting and spacing. Like there's not too long ago, there was one I wanted to participate in, and I just didn't make it. And it's a struggle when you're really busy, and plus I was just balancing a music career. I've been trying to save the last few years. Like I used to tour a lot, and I stopped. All of a sudden, I just got way too high, and I stopped, and I was too stuck on managing my trap house and trying to manage relationships that were going to hell in a handbasket, which there was no saving. And things are starting to come together now, but it all starts with me putting myself first. Like, I mean, I had to stop doing shows for my first 6 months. I had to stop doing things that I loved, like, and just focus on me. And I am seeing a psychiatrist now. Luckily, my union actually pays for me to speak to a therapist, and I recently started taking advantage of it. I think this is our last meeting is next week, and we might come up with an excuse to possibly get some funding to get that covered. But yeah, I've been sober 4 years, and I'm still fucking nuts. Like, yeah, I've been talking to somebody at work. Like, she's pretty much a normie. She smokes weed and stuff, but like shows up to work like 2 hours early. Like, I've been sober for 4 years, and I'm still late. I'm late all the time. I'm still a fucking mess. Um, Actually, my sponsor called in the middle of this meeting, called me back because I gave him a call because I felt like it was a good time to call. I was going to see if he was off tomorrow, figure out if I should just take the day off for a mental health day. But he decided he's going to come hang out with me after I get off work on Tuesday night. Like he doesn't even live in Seattle, and he's going to take the boat back over here, even though he does it every day to go to work. He's like, yeah, he wants to hang out with me and make sure I'm okay. And yeah, so like Frank said earlier, we can't do this alone. I need other people. I tried to do this on my own many a times, and I could not pull my first 30 days until I couldn't pull my first 2 weeks, until I started accepting help from other people, like meeting people that have actually pulled it off and wanting what they have, and reaching out for help and just start hanging out with them because they were way cooler than the people I was hanging out with. And I mean, it takes a long time to get out of the fog to realize, like these aren't the people I want to be around. My mother just got out of the hospital, and I think she just got home from a rehabilitation center, but like she's in her 70s. She has MS. She just had pneumonia in her lung, and it really got me working on my step work a lot more. Like, I mean, I started doing more step work out of fear of losing her and not knowing how I'm going to react to that. We were talking about grief earlier. I've lost some people to addiction and other stuff, and obviously we all just lost somebody. I, like I have yet in my recovery, I feel like I mean I've lost some people I cared about, but like not anyone that's really caused a severe like mental breakdown. That's what I'm worried about. I haven't lost a parent yet, but the fear of it has actually got me working more on myself, like doing step one, making sure I don't have reservations. Like what kind of like Brick was talking about earlier, how you could lose somebody special and just like I totally connected with that. Like I yeah, I don't want to do that. I mean, the beautiful thing about it is if my mom passes, the beauty of it, the thing that brings me to tears is knowing that she's going to go knowing I'm going to be all right. Maybe a little fear of how I'm going to react to it, but otherwise she knows I'm all right. I got my own place. I can pay bills now. I got a car. I got food. I'm good to go. And she doesn't have to talk to me through a window in a jail cell anymore. Or when, like you ever had a parent or somebody visit you in jail and put their hand on the glass and you put your hand on the glass too, you really feel energy like go through that. Like she put her hand on the glass, I put my hand on the glass, she started crying instantly. And I'm like, oh God, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Like she was worried. I think I see someone I know there. I fucking love it here. But yeah, I I love where I'm at. If you're new, fucking welcome. You don't ever have to pick up again if you don't want to. Like you don't. There's tons of meetings, other programs. There's this program right here. I just attended my first gathering sober and stuff because of this program. I went there just for one day to test the waters the year before, and all of a sudden I found this fucking tent. Saw the sober balls fucking banner and shit, right? Yeah. I'm like, holy shit, I'm not alone here. So the next year I knew I could go and attend the whole thing with confidence because I had somewhere to go. There are recovering addicts everywhere. We're everywhere. You just got to reach out. I put my number up earlier. I'm about to put it up again. If anybody wants to call me and talk to me or needs someone to talk to or reach out to, I can talk to you while I deliver mail. It's whatever. Have it. I'm going to go ahead and make room for, I'm going to go ahead and bow out so somebody else can share and get
Thanks,
whatever they
Aaron. I
have off their
appreciate
chest.
that.
Of course.
Aaron's a great guy. I love talking to him. Tox, you are up.
So I wanted to talk about something that I started when I was 13. So my last name is Wolf. It's called the Woven Network. I literally made a chat room and went around to other chat rooms back in the day of chat rooms. This would be 2003, I think. Sounds about right. Anyway, so I went around
20 years
advertising.
ago, just to make you feel
Right.
old.
Yes, actually, next year it'll be 20 years next year. And so that's also 20 years since Chris and I actually met, because we met in my chat room. So actually, we met in a Juggalo chat room that I randomly found him in and sent my link to my chat room. But anyway, so the entire purpose of this is my chat was, if you don't have anybody to talk to, come to us. Like, you've got some shit going on in your life. There's nobody in your family. You don't think you can talk to your friends about it or whatever. Can't afford a therapist. Come into my chat room and talk to us. If you want it to be private, you can PM me. That was like the entire thing. So this ended up getting hundreds of members across the entire world, because this chat room was a worldwide. This chat client in general was a worldwide thing. I don't know if anybody would even know what it is, but it was called Ares, ARES. But it was like a downloading client, like uTorrent basically, with a chat that you could make your own shit.
The chat rooms
So
were
anyway,
based in IRC.
yes, they were IRC chat rooms. So Chris was one of the people that was helping me out with this, but we were basically, as I said, just going around telling people, if you need to talk to somebody. It was blowing people's minds when they found out I was 13, but the entire reason I started it was because I was 13 and I had nobody to talk to. There was nobody in my life. Like, I didn't have friends. There wasn't anything. So my entire life was online at that point in time. And now 5 years later, me and Chris got together, and now he and I have been together for 15 years. But basically the point here is, there are places that you can go, people that you can talk to if you can't afford, going to a therapist, if you don't have medical insurance or anything. I don't want anyone out there to feel like they're alone. I don't want anyone out there to feel like they can't talk to somebody. That's why I'm completely 100% feel free to message me. It's what I do, because I like to help people. That's what me and Chris both do. We just like to help people. We prefer everybody be happy, because we spent so long not happy. That's it on that. Sorry.
You're fine. Talks, check your messages. I just sent you one.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say something. Also, when it comes to mental health, even if you don't have insurance and ways to pay for stuff, if you go to your city mental health resources center, they have programs, they have a lot of things that can help you if you don't have the financial aid to do so. So there are ways around it. And if you need help finding those, reach out to us. We will do research, help you get on the right path. Bricks, that is your turn, sir. Mr. Bricks. I think he's having a bad connection right now. Nathan, since Bricks is frozen, it is your turn. We'll come back to Mr. Bricks.
Yeah, just on the topic of not being able to afford different mental health things. I know that what I was reading recently, Lainey, she was struggling with anxiety and panic attacks, and which led her to take more of her medication than that was intended. And that's just something that I read, and I just wanted to say there's techniques out there to kind of bring you off of those panic attacks and bring you down from that high level, so you don't have to take a ton of your medicine. There's out there's things out there you can do if you do a Google search or whatever. One of them is high heat or high cold. Like if you or to like stick your face in a bowl of ice water, it brings those levels down. There's always something that will help. Other than throwing money at it, and there are the free services. Like Frank was just mentioning, like that you can do. But there's always an option. There's always an option other than the way out. And that's the biggest thing is that just reach out to somebody and get that help. It doesn't matter. Um, there there's something to be said about reaching out to other people. And when you're in that low spot, you don't really want to. But that's when you really should be reaching out to somebody else. I'm not the biggest people person on the planet, and I'm not going to just reach out to people. But when I'm really low, that's when I have to do it. I have to, and it has always worked out for me. I've never had anybody, push me off or get upset, or it's never ended badly. It's always ended really, really well when you reach out to somebody. So that's just what I wanted to add. There's always alternatives, but always reach out for sure. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Nathan. Mr. Bricks, your turn, sir.
Sorry about that. My connection had a reboot.
You're all good.
I just sent a message to my lady. She lives in Indiana. No, Ohio. Sorry, Dayton, Ohio. And anyway, I was going to say, it really is important to remain vigilant and aware, basically, and to keep busy. If to keep yourself, from having too much idle time, because if you have too much idle time, that's the devil's playground. You put all kinds of thoughts in your head about your past, about what makes you down. He knows everything. He's a sly motherfucker and a tricky bastard. And I think keeping busy, keep working, finding a good job helps with that. I believe that talking to the right people and having finding the right people that have an understanding where you've been and where you come from, where you come from and whatnot, and to just not to keep active, keep whatever it is that you used to do. I'm telling you right now, it's if you don't keep yourself and your mind busy, your mind will start to wander. And that's where I was with a lot of different things myself. I'm learning to try to forgive myself because I knew it wasn't my fault what happened, even though like I had a lot of self-blame, I guess, for a lot of things that happened. It was my own fault that, that I started, on, pill, like not on the pills per se, but the fentanyl was my fault, even though I was technically acclimated to. It's such a horrible fucking thing, bro. I'm telling you right now, it's just one of those things that like it just it'll make you like it'll just suck you in. It just pulls you in. It just makes you feel so I don't know. But anyway, 7 days sober, doing all
Good
right.
job, Mr. Bricks. Keep
And
going. It'll get easier.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I found a candle inside the house. So I was like, yeah,
Awesome.
that's for Laney.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bricks.
I
D,
thought maybe
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was
D,
just going to say,
I know you have your hand up. So with your share, you're going to bring us into the last topic on how mental and emotional health wrap into addiction. Believe you can do this. I have faith in you. Your turn.
Sorry about that. I have a yard full of kids trying to start a fire, but how mental and emotional health tie into addiction.
Yes.
I mean, so I was kind of getting at that earlier. I know for a fact, working in the field of addiction, either you have mental and emotional problems which cause you to drink or drug to escape yourself, or you have addiction problems which exacerbate and cause mental problems. I am the latter. Um, I'm pretty sure I'm the latter because once I started heavy using and went through family members like getting divorced and like kind of feeling lost in the world, then came the manic depression, was what it was called at the time, with a psychotic disorder. Um, Later on came PTSD just from all the years of being locked up. But I drank and drugged to feel comfortable in my own skin because those feelings of depression and anger were so overwhelming. It's the only time I could find some version of peace, right? And I did that for 18 years of my life. This is the only way I felt not alone in this world or comfortable in my own skin. I could be in a room with hundreds of people that might care about me, and some of them really did care or love me, and still not feel what they felt towards me because I just felt alone no matter what um, the circumstance was. And the drink or the drug never helped with those emotional disorders, but they always made them 100 times worse. And in my journey in recovery, once I started to get sober, like I had to learn um, emotional sobriety, which was a hard thing to do. That's like a key thing to do because, like, okay, now I'm removed from the drink or drug. The obsession's been lifted. What am I doing now? I'm flooded with emotions. I'm flooded with all these new feelings and all these things I have to learn to deal with. Um, and at this point, I just got 4 years sober on the third, 4 years of continuous sobriety. Like, emotional mental sobriety is my key thing. Like anything that disturbs my inner peace and isn't positive is something that I remove myself from. Like I'm more than willing to help anybody else out that is in a low spot, but I don't put myself in a crowd of negative people without because I know where it's going to go. If you surround yourself with that, that's what you eventually become. And like the smallest part in learning about the positivity is to quit like shaming myself, to quit, the self pity and holding all these regrets and resentments. Like I was a big negative self talker. Like I'm not worthy. I'm a piece of shit. I'll never amount to anything. I'm not good enough for anybody. Like, and when I finally decided that I was worth something and started just with the smallest thing of changing the way I thought about myself and the way I spoke about myself, came a whole different ball game. And then the longer I stay sober, you were talking about like recognizing these feelings and emotions, like being aware. Like I've been off meds for like 3 years, but I know when I'm being manic and I know when I have a depressive slump and I know how to pull myself out of either, and that took years of trial and error and practice. It was nothing easy. And like I said, usually when I'm hitting those really bad depressive slumps, I might be in them for a few weeks. And it's usually I just lost somebody and I'm choosing to sit in this low spot, which is no good for me. but I know how to pull myself out and find something positive and productive to get me back on track. And the best way I felt, the best way I feel of dealing with those is like Bricks was saying and Aaron was saying in the chat, was to get out of myself by helping somebody else, get out of my own way and help somebody else. If I can give away that positivity and happiness I found through all the struggles I've been through and be a guide to somebody, because that's essentially all I am when I help somebody else out through a 12-step process, or just from lending an ear and giving them tools I've learned through the 12-step process, because it doesn't matter if you're an addict, alcoholic, or not. It can be applied to anybody because it's a way of living. I find the most usefulness for myself and the most peace and happiness I regain. It's like a recharge for the soul. um and it's crazy how it's all linked together. You could be so mentally and emotionally torn apart that it leads you to a lifestyle addiction, or you could have the lifestyle addiction that causes such havoc that leads you to those grave emotional and mental disorders. But the truth is, when you take the time to sit back and brutally be honest with yourself and decide to make a change and make a choice and to do something different, like, it can all get better. And you'll be surprised like how much life will get better in such a short period of time.
Thanks, D. So that merges all three of our big topics together: mental health, emotional health, addiction, and something else. There's so much. These are three of the biggest topics um, to cover, and 2 hours is just not enough time to get all the information out there. Um, my views and grieving, yes. Whoever's on the iPhone, thank you. Um, so sorry, my brain's just racing. Too much information. The way I see it, it correlates with what D was saying, but I'm gonna go on the opposite side of it. Addiction, yes, can cause mental and emotional issues. It could mental and emotional issues could cause addiction, but on the other side of it, if you gone through any type of addiction, or even take addiction out of it and have gone through any type of trauma, um, your mental and emotional health can heal, and that's the biggest thing. Everyone is capable of doing it if you get the right help. For me, most of my biggest issues when trying to heal mentally and emotionally was myself getting in my own way. I have a very big ego that's hard to keep into check. I have a lot of pride that holds me back, and I become my own worst enemy, especially when I am fighting the programming from my past, saying that I'm weak for asking for help, or um, I'm not being a man. I need to toughen up and shrug it off. That's what I was always told growing up. Um, I know that's not everybody's history, but that's mine. And I've had to go through a lot of healing. And one thing I have realized through all of this healing is the fact that the healing mentally and emotionally has allowed me to mature on a level that I didn't really know existed for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a kid at heart, I still play with action figures and games and all that stuff. I play Pokemon. Come on, like really. I'm a kid. But my mental and emotional maturity is huge. I don't throw temper tantrums anymore. I don't lash out to people who don't deserve it. And even the people who do deserve it, I attempt 95% of the time to deal with those situations in a healthy manner. There's some situations that get away from me, but I'm human and I don't hold it against myself. I just learn how to do it better the next time. Do not be too hard on yourself. Do not hold yourself to these expectations of being a perfect human being. They are not, it's never going to happen. You're not perfect. We're humans. We have flaws. Accept that. As long as you are doing your best every day, that's all that matters. And your best could look and will look different from day to day. Because some days you just wake up and you don't have the same motivation or the same mental health and emotional health you had the day before. We've all woken up and we're just dragging ass all day, whether we were tossing and turning or had a lot of stuff on our mind. It's just how life works. Don't be hard on yourself. Do the best you can for that day. You'll be able to make it through. And that goes the same with grieving and um, when you initially lose someone, the the pain that you're gonna feel is raw. And at first might actually be unbearable or feel like it is. But as days go along, things get easier. You find a way to accept what happened. You find a way to keep moving on, to lean on the people, to appreciate the people in your life that mean the most to you. It helps you. It gives you a reality check that allows you to appreciate the things and people in your life when you need it. Now I'm going to stop babbling because I'm causing a line up here. Mr. Bricks, then Chris, then Mr. D. Go ahead, Mr. Bricks. You are not unmuted, sir.
There we go. I was going to say that I agree. I totally agree that you have to, you know, I've pretty much had dealing with mental illness before I was on a lot of drugs. And like I said, I would see a therapist and he would like rush me out as soon as I get there. And I was really sad about a bad breakup. It took quite a while to get over because I regret what I lost within that relationship because I felt like I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do. And so I regretted that. But at the same time, even though she knew I had mental illness, like for depression and whatnot, like, because I get really depressed. And I never self harmed or I mean, I tried to, I think once, but I think I fucking chickened out or something. But still here, and you know, it's one of those things where you gotta always remember that no matter what you're going through, you know, having someone to talk to is very important because if you don't get it off your mind and out of your chest, like it can really build up, and that's what happened to me. I felt like nobody. I didn't know who to talk to about it. got to the point where I'd have like manic depressive like moments where I'd go on a rant, scream, and just oh, it was horrible. It was like, what's wrong with me? What was what? Which was up or anything at the point? So I was so you know, everything that had happened that it made my mental illness a whole lot worse, and I developed out of that from high anxiety and just as well, and it just wasn't good, you know. So like when you get to now, how I deal with that when I come to face this reality now, I try to remember to pray, and I think honestly praying really is another good thing, and you just you ask God to give you wisdom and guidance, you know, because we all want to make it to Shangri-La one day, and I want to see all you motherfuckers up. Amen. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bricks. Chris, your turn.
All right. My turn to say some shit. So, the idea of mental health, especially when we're talking about it inside sobriety, is so key. And one of the hardest things that we have to deal with is the idea of being okay being by ourselves. And when you have to deal with the idea of being by yourself and having nobody else to rely on is really depressing. And that's when the idea of our communities can come in and help us relate to something. Even if we don't know each other, just having somebody that you can talk to inside of a community that has some kind of shared interest can help make things just that little bit easier so you can get through your day to day.
D, your turn.
Okay, so there's a couple things I heard, but like you were saying, like your ego won't allow you to ask for help. I don't think it matters whether you're addict or not. Most of us find it the hardest thing to ask for help or to trust somebody to talk to, right? And at least like in the recovery community and those that are affected by people like us in the recovery community know that there's a safe place where you can talk and be honest with people without judgment or worrying about somebody going and telling 100,000 people about what's going on in your own personal affairs, you know? And that is the hardest part is like being able to get out of your own way and go like, hey, I can't do this alone, and tell somebody about a situation that you're going through. And Bricks was talking about like prayer and meditation. Like that's a big thing for me, like prayer, meditation, and reflection, you know, especially when it comes to those lost, like because all those people's lives that person touch are affected when they're gone, right? And the best thing to do is to reflect and remember all the brightness and positivity that person brings. And I think a big part of life is learning just to live in the moment, you know, like minute by minute, day by day. Enjoy the people that you have at that moment in time while they're there, because you don't know when somebody is not going to be there again, you know. So never take granted for the people that are in your life, whether it be a short period or a lifelong period.
Thank you, D. Amelia, it is your turn, miss.
Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Great. Hello, I'm gonna try and keep this short. I'm not very good at public speaking. But Though I have never struggled with addiction issues myself, it is something that I was raised with. My father was NAAA, thankfully, by the time that I was born. But it was something that he kind of ingrained into us, like, don't talk to strangers. And by the way, don't do heavy drugs. Addiction runs heavily in my family, and many of my members of family still deal with drug addiction. Personally, I deal with depression, anxiety, and losing family members, specifically my father and my brother. The grief process is unfortunately familiar. Some of the tips and tricks that I would recommend are, when you're feeling overwhelmed, two of the things that I try to remember are stop and halt. Stop meaning stop, or observe, take a step back, observe, and proceed with caution. It spells stop. But giving yourself a minute to step back and to look at the subject or the situation at hand and to really evaluate it, and then go on without just going by the seat of your pants and running off of anxiety and not actually thinking about what you're doing. That's something that can help people from spiraling. Halt, a lot of the times when I am starting to spiral, it is because of halt, which is if I'm hungry, if I'm angry, if I'm lonely, or if I'm tired. A big factor in our attitude and emotion is if we've eaten. A big factor in our attitude and emotion is, when was the last time we had a real connection with another human, like where we could actually talk with them? These groups and these chats are amazing places to get that connection and that community, and not to feel isolated and lonely, because we all struggle with some sort of issue. Me personally, like I said, I've never gotten to the point where I've gotten addicted to anything. I have stopped drinking now for over 5 years, which is a big thing for me. But those are the two main things that I can really kind of contribute to this, to help. And these help on hindsight too, because for me, that's a lot of time when I use them. When I start spiraling into anxiety, I can't stop myself until it's too late. And when it's too late, I can always look back and think of what I could have done different and what I'm going to try to do different in the future, and not beat yourself up if you didn't do everything perfect, because life is an adventure or nothing at all. And you've got to go out and adventure, and that means the good and the bad, but it means progressing and being better and trying to do better every single day, and not beating yourself up when you don't, because we're all human. So I think that's kind of what I have to contribute to this, as far as grieving, as far as mental health goes.
Thank you, Amelia. It's weird. I was going to try to find the picture that you brought up, halt, because uh, in the place where I got sober at in AA in Illinois, there was a picture on the wall that had halt, and it said hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Those are humongous triggers for anything, whether it's anxiety or trauma or just emotions. Never mind people who deal with addiction. Those are the most vulnerable parts of life. So I just had a flashback when you said halt, because that was pretty big for me.
Me too.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Chris, your turn.
I just want to make sure we make the statement Juggalos in Recovery isn't just for the addicted. We're not just drug, alcohol, rehab. We're here as a support system overall.
Yes, I was going to touch on that too. We are a community. We are here to help. This is not just for addicts. It started off just for addicts, but as it grows, we have realized that it's a community. The community has people who need help, and we're not going to turn anybody away. So if there's a meeting going on and you're not an addict, you are more than welcome to join. Uh, we're about to walk into, I'm putting my wife on the spot because that's my job. about to have a very special guest. My wife is wanting to talk. Stacy, it is your turn. Stop talking to our son. Oh, she's busy. Your turn, miss.
Sorry, I was yelling at Henry.
That's fine.
I do like the fact of this meeting. I am not in recovery. I'm not an addict of any sort. But I know about how bad the stigma is of like getting help in general after like grieving. I had to put my dog down that I had forever in August. And then my Frank says it doesn't count, but my ex-husband's brother who was a part of my family, my son's uncle, committed suicide on in September, like a week after I had put my dog down. Then while we were in Colorado dealing with that, Henry, my son, had a doctor's appointment. We were driving home from Colorado. Henry has a seizure in the car. I get home. I'm home for like 3 days, and I find out that my uncle's in the hospital, and probably not going to make it. And he's in Georgia. And then about 3 hours later, my mom calls me, tells me my uncle died. Well, then, about 2 weeks later, I had household toilet issues. And then I had to make an appointment to put my cat down. And then we had no water for 2 days here in lovely Portales, New Mexico. And that was just too much fucking shit to deal with. And we're talking not even what would you say, Frank? Not even like a 2-month span? Because put Ruger down on the 31st of August.
Yeah, I say all that happened within 2 months. It's been a rough 2 months. Because that happened before I left, and I haven't even been here 2 months yet.
Yeah, and my husband's deployed, so I'm having to deal with all of this shit by myself. Plumbing issues, etc. And it was just too much. But I do understand, like, some people don't want to like be heavily medicated, because I do not. I am one of those people. I have bad reactions to medications. But I have gone to more meetings and had my face hidden so I didn't have to be seen. But hearing, everybody else's grieving stories and stuff, it helps make me not feel so insane. Because I feel like all I've been doing is having shit piled up on top of me, on top of me, on top of me, on top of me, and it feels like it hasn't stopped. And, the fact of not having you home makes it harder too, because then I have to deal with everything, and I have no one to physically hug, touch, other than a 12-year-old child that doesn't want their mother touching them. But it's difficult, and I've had the hardest time. And when the news broke about what's her name, it was just a hard thing to swallow. I didn't know her at all. Never been to a gathering, none of that. And it was just like, shit, I can't deal with that right now. I got enough shit right now. But coming into this meeting has been such a huge, like, realization for a non-addict to realize that I am not alone when it comes to having issues dealing with this kind of information, because it's hard doing this shit alone, more or less, feeling like I have nobody understands what I'm going through, which obviously is not true.
Yeah, that's all in your head. I've been telling you that for years.
Fuck off.
I'll tell you all the same thing I tell her all the time. Stay out of your head. There's no adult supervision up there. Cox, go ahead.
So I probably should have talked about this earlier. Me and Chris were talking about it actually earlier today, but I did actually have a family member die of addiction, die of basically complications of addiction, if I guess. He was a very severe alcoholic. He spent he wasn't really a person in my life because he spent his whole life stealing from my family to drink, basically. Um, but anyway, his many years of alcoholism, he drank until the day he died, but it caused liver failure. His eyes completely turned yellow, and he just slowly died from it. So the reason I want to bring this up is because I don't want that to happen to any of us. Like I don't want that to be any of you. You know what I mean? And that is another reason why I'm super happy that Juggalos in Recovery exists in general. I just don't. None of us need to go through that. You know what I mean? And if any of you are going through it, I know uh, one of you mentioned that you've got health problems, has complications, and I really hope that that gets better, gets resolved. You know what I mean? Because that's just it's so upsetting, and I can't lose another one of you guys. You know what I mean? I didn't know Lainey. I know I haven't spoken on that, but I know that literally having any kind of problems and being stuck with it, not being able to do anything about it, mental, whatever it is, it's just you can't go through this alone, and you don't have to. And that's all I wanted to say on that.
Thanks, Tox. Before we go to Kronk, I just want to congratulate Melissa on 5 years free from self-harm. That is an amazing job. You don't have to go through it alone. Anybody in this room, I'm sure, including myself, will talk to you. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you need help, and that goes for anybody in here. Krunk, go ahead.
Hey, regarding the emotional and mental health aspects, personally, I felt the hardest thing to do to come out of my shell and do that first step in any direction was thinking that anyone would actually believe the things that I have either seen or we worked at a freak shop and we were in a community where if you wanted to tell somebody what your night was like, they wouldn't believe you. And getting over that, like getting over yourself to realize that someone might actually be able to help you. Like being able to accept help means thinking that's even a possibility. That was my first step. And it led to a concept of betterment. And that's what I think was missing. Like that might be rock bottom. I don't know what the definition is. It's probably different for everyone. But not just being in a position where you're going to accept help, thinking it's even possible. Um, Helped me with the whole emotional mental connection. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Krunk.
Thanks.
That's a very good point. I remember when I first got into sobriety, and just so everybody is on the same page, when I talk about my story, I know not everyone in here has been through addiction. So I talk about my story so I'm not making shit up. Because I used to make shit up all the fucking time. So it stops me from making stories that aren't true. So when I first got into sobriety, um, I swore when I was going to tell people the stuff that I did in the past. It's, I went through a AA, which is a 12-step program, and one of the steps is to talk to someone about the shit that you regret and the shit that you have issues with, people you've harmed, the people who've harmed you, and all that stuff. I was like, there's no way, one, anybody's going to believe some of the shit that I've said or done or witnessed. And this is the most vulnerable part of my life because I'm literally spilling my guts to, I did it to a complete stranger because that's what was weirdly comfortable for me because I was raised Catholic. Fun for me. Um, but the reality of it is, you would be surprised what people are willing to accept, especially in a community like this. Look at all these people, all the people who have been in this meeting. There's, I would put money on it. Story, you might have the best story in the house, but there's probably at least half of us that will believe you. And even if we don't believe you, we're gonna wonder how we can witness a story like that as well. We might be a little crazy. It's just who we are. Um, but everybody here, um, it has been 2 hours. We have had a wonderful meeting. Anybody in this room or anybody watching this later on, um, if you need to reach out to anybody, you can reach out to Juggalos in Recovery page. We have a Facebook group, or go on our website and do the contact info. It will email me directly, and I will respond to you as quickly as I can. We have plenty of people willing to reach out, talk to someone. We will. Um, I would just talk to message talks during the meeting. We will get our Discord up and running and make that network happen so everybody has a place to talk to someone. I've been trying to find a way to push this so everybody has a way, and Ellis Wolf just dropped the knowledge and it's going to make it happen. So we will have a lot of stuff going on. Um, as of right now, this meeting is once a month, every Sunday, first Sunday of every month. We do have 3 meetings a week. You all are more than welcome to come to them. It is on our website, jugglosandrecovery.com. And of course, we'll go live and all that stuff on Facebook whenever we have the meetings. Also, there was something else I want to touch on. We're doing something special, and I had another idea too during the meeting. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 different things. You can message the page, post in the Facebook group, or email Sober the Juggalo at jugglosandrecovery.com. A video, a statement, an audio file, whatever, if it has to do with Laney, or if it's advice you want to give to anybody who's going through some shit. We're going to make a Laney specific video to go up on YouTube in remembrance and dedication to her. And also, we are going to send that stuff over to Violent J and the team over there and make sure they know that the community stands behind them when they're going through a very tough time. And then the more videos we get in for the messages to go out to the community for um, just to help out, advice or whatever, that will go up on my personal YouTube channel, Sober the Juggalo, and the Juggalos and Recoveries meeting channel, and there will be posts as often as we can on our Facebook group and page to get the message out there so we all know that the community is here for us. So feel free, audio file, text. I'll read your text message into a camera if that's what you're not, if that's what you're comfortable with. All of this is just for the community. We are here to help. If you ever need help, reach out. Contacts form is on the website. If you did not get a chance to share, please feel free to reach out, post on the YouTube channel, I'm sorry, so many things in my brain. Post on the Facebook page, the group, message us directly if you want to. If you're looking for people to hook up with, that's what we use our Juggalos and Recovery group for. to help you find sponsorship or people in your area that are willing to talk to you. So with that being said, thank you all for showing up. I am truly blessed to have this much people show up for a meeting, and all share our stories. For all of you that shared, for all of you that showed up to listen, thank you so much from Juggalos in Recovery and from me myself. And with that, I will end the meeting. No matter how long the road is, if we walk together, we will get there. Even though we will face some of the darkest evil ever seen, we will face it as a community and stand fearless in its path. Nothing will stop us. With the help of our family and community, we will overcome persecution and tribulations that life may cast from time to time. To the ones who still suffer and haven't found the path to serenity, we will continue to search for you and help you no matter your ailment. We carry our stories and messages to everyone who will listen. As the sun descends and night becomes, we arise to take the path. Much love to all of you. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.